CBS News correspondent Omar Villafranca is in Brownsville, Texas. That's just over the border where those Americans were kidnapped. Omar, thanks for joining us on such short notice. What can you tell us about what the governor in that state in Mexico has said?
And I want to add a little bit to that attribution, Vlad. It was the governor of Tamaulipas and also the attorney general of Tamaulipas have both reported that 2 of the 4 Americans, as you mentioned, who were kidnapped, were killed. Another one of those, the third American, was injured. We do not know the condition of that American, and another one was not hurt. Now, here's what we're trying to figure out. Who has passed away and who is injured and who is still alive. We're trying to get the proper names assigned with that. We know the names of the 4 people who were abducted, but we don't know at this point who is alive and who is dead. It's worth noting at this point that the U.S. government has been working with the Mexican government, and the Mexican government has said that they formed a task force to go and look for these people who were abducted last Friday. And another big question is, where are they? Where were they discovered? We don't know yet. We're trying to figure out the condition of the people who are still alive and where they are and if they are in safe hands. A lot of unanswered questions, but unfortunately the information we do know is not good. 2 have passed away, 1 injured.
Has the White House or the State Department commented at all about this?
Right now, they're probably listening. The president of Mexico, AMLO, speaks, kind of in a briefing type setting, and some of that information came out in the president's briefing. We're waiting to get any response from the White House and the State Department and the FBI to see if, and from family members of these folks from North and South Carolina, trying to see if we can get any reaction from them and find out what happens next.
So, Omar, and I know this is, again, breaking news, and you're getting the information as we are reporting it live on the air here, but do we know, or do we have an understanding at all, if the 2 that are reported to be dead were killed, were executed? In other words, they were taken, abducted, and then executed, or were they perhaps hurt in that gunfire that killed that one Mexican woman, as you reported?
Well, and that's a question we don't know about, Vlad, but in the video that we have played before, and we want to warn people if we're playing it right now, it is disturbing. You see cartel members who are armed pull up in a pickup truck and put a woman in the back of a truck. I'm not sure if she was injured, but she was upright and they were walking her in. The other 2 did not look good. We see them dragging a body across the road, and we're not sure if it was blood or some other type of body fluid that was on the ground while they were dragging them and put them next to her in the back of that pickup truck. We don't want to jump to conclusions to say one of those people have died, but it did not look good from the initial scene from what we saw on Friday. And as you mentioned, a Mexican civilian who was there in that intersection was killed. So there were bullets flying left and right. There was cartel violence there in Matamoros on Friday. In fact, the local leadership there in Mexico, when that gunfire broke out in the afternoon, was basically telling people to shelter in place. So did the U.S. State Department. If there's Americans down there, stay in place. Why that's important? This is spring break right now. Here where I'm at, Brownsville, is safe. The other side is Matamoros, but there's a lot of people who come down here, not only from Texas, but from the south, because South Padre Island, which you've probably heard of, is just down the road. This is the airport that you would most likely fly into to go to South Padre Island. People come here, they have a good time, maybe cross into Mexico to eat and maybe drink and have some fun and come back over. The State Department has a level 4 warning to not go over. Some people do anyway. So a lot of attention not only on the Mexican side, but on the American side to see exactly what happened to these people.
Yeah, that's what I was sort of wondering about. So, what we learned this morning is that at least 1 person had gone down there for a procedure, probably a cosmetic procedure. I mean, that happens quite a lot, but in various places. But I wondered about how frequently it happened in this area, in this town. Is this an area that's known for plastic surgery procedures, or was this like a sort of an odd thing?
No, I mean, you're in a part here in Matamoros is a town of more than 500,000 people, and there are doctors there. On the other side, you have the border towns you have Brownsville, you have McAllen here. That's a big city where they can go to. Look, there's a lot of people, and I'll be honest, I grew up in San Antonio. We would go to Laredo, cross over into Nuevo Laredo, and you could go to a drugstore over there. You could get simple, amoxicillin. All my tias, all my grandmas wanted the retinol to put on their face. They wanted They wanted the cheaper medical stuff that they could get without a prescription. Nothing nefarious, but you could get it cheaper, and it was readily available over there. It's not uncommon for people here on the Brownsville side to say, like, well, I need to go to the drugstore. Instead of going to CVS, they cross over and they go and buy a few things over there much cheaper and bring it back over here. The same thing with medical procedures, especially cosmetic. Brazilian butt lifts, there can be augmentations, tummy tucks, but even dental work. There are dentists who, come to school here in the U.S. and then go back to Mexico and practice there, and a lot of people do go over there. It's cheaper, and if they don't have insurance here in the U.S., they go over into Mexico. The same way you hear people in Florida go to Colombia for various procedures as well. It's just a quick plane trip, a little bit of recovery, and come over. A lot of times they'll start here in Brownsville, cross over into Matamoros, get whatever elective or cosmetic surgeries they may want done, and then come back here on the American side and recover.
Omar, so how is I guess this is going to be sort of an interesting question, but how is the governor getting this information if we are to believe that these kidnappings and ultimately this killing was carried out by a cartel? So how would the governor and the attorney general be privy to this information? What are I'm guessing they probably know some things that they haven't shared with the media yet, but I'm trying to understand how the flow of information works in Mexico.
Look, the same way that our American government is finding out information on what they were doing down there. Every government has sources, with a white hat and a black hat. So they may be trying to work those channels as well. We're trying to find out how they were found, and if they were found, did they show up at a hospital? Were they dumped at a hospital? Were they presented somewhere and left there? I mean, there has been cases where cartel members grab somebody and then leave them to be found. Whether dead or alive is another thing. But in this case, we're trying to find out if there was a hospital in Matamoros that they showed up at or they were taken to and left there, and currently who has them in custody. If they're with Mexican officials, then that would be a good thing, because then at that point now we could figure out, okay, who's getting medical treatment, and it would be easier to transport them back here to the American side and back to their families.
What's the alternative if they're not with Mexican?
Well, if the cartel still has them, then the cartel will give them back whenever the cartel wants to give them back in whatever way they feel they want to give them back. And you can kind of read between the lines here, not to get too gruesome, since people are still, we don't know what custody or whose custody they are in. But listen, I mean, it's horrible that 2 people have died, but the question is how they were found, and the 2 who are still alive, what condition are they in?
Omar, thank you very much. So we will, of course, continue to follow the developments out of Mexico and anything else that we can learn about the surviving Americans. You're streaming CBS News.
Original documentary from CBS reports tensions rising between a powerful country and a vital island.
The supply of this technology came grinding to a halt. The world would grind to a halt.
Absolutely.
As Taiwan faces threats and aggression,
Taiwan is on the front line, and we understand our responsibility as a democracy. We cannot fall.
CBS News examines whether they can defend themselves.
Putin, Ukraine, China, Taiwan, there are manifestations of the battle between autocracy and democracy. And that is a fight that we're all engaged in.
Defending Taiwan, now streaming on the free CBS News app. When weather turns extreme,
states from the plains to the northeast are bracing for more than 2 feet of heavy snow.
Every second counts.
This is a monster winter storm.
CBS News and the Weather Channel bring you virtual weather technology so advanced, so real.
There's a wrinkle in the forecast, the accumulating ice.
You'll have time to get prepared.
Take precautions before you head out.
Feel the forecast on the CBS Evening News with Nora O'Donnell.
Stories that inform.
You can be really old at 60, and you can be really young at 85.
Inspire.
How do we unlock the power within ourselves to be who we want to be?
And brighten your day.
The best part of fame is making people feel good. Always send the people home happy.
Make every day a little more like Sunday morning.
Here comes the sun.
Stream now on the free CBS News app.
An original documentary from CBS Reports.
The carnage in our nation's schools has become painfully repetitive.
Not one more child!
School shootings have parents fighting mad.
I promised my daughter I was going to fight. This is going to keep on happening.
And teachers taking lessons in how to fight back.
This is an exercise.
We approach it as it's you or them.
It shouldn't have to be your teacher's job to protect your life.
But will the battle over gun control,
People are afraid that they're going to lose their gun rights altogether,
be the hardest lesson of all?
The exercise, you're having to shoot at an adult. Are you prepared to have to kill one of your students?
Guns in the Classroom, now streaming on the free CBS News app.
The Justice Department could soon file a lawsuit blocking JetBlue's proposed merger with Spirit Airlines. The Attorney General holding a news conference about an antitrust matter this morning at 11:30 Eastern. But it's not clear if it's about the deal. JetBlue CEO Robin Hayes was on CBS Mornings earlier today and discussed the possible lawsuit. And here's what he said.
Clearly, we're disappointed, but we're not surprised. The issue in the U.S. industry,